Hey dear Reverend and sisters, Dhamma friends, this is the time for our question and answer session, and many questions are already available in written form, and as I mentioned yesterday that whenever the question coming in English medium, I will try to answer in English, and if the question is in Sinhala, accordingly it will go with Sinhala. Meanwhile, if anyone wish to raise any questions or any some comments, it's welcome. And anyway, I will start with what is already written. Bante, second question. What is the meaning of menehi kirima? When in sitting meditation, doing Anapanasati meditation, what is the English word for it? What do you do with it? Please explain with metta. Menehi kirima is it's a Sinhalese term. It is called Manasikara, is the Pali term, and it has been Sinhalized and translated into Sinhala as menehi kirima. In English it is called labeling and naming. Naming technique and the labeling technique. When in the sitting meditation, doing Anapanasati meditation, what is the... that as far as the sitting meditation is concerned, when the in-breath and out-breath happen, if the mind tends to slip away, if the mind going to take wandering and daydreaming and fantasizing, in order to focus the attention, advert into the oncoming object, as and when the in-breath happen, you just mentally note in, or just simple in. When the out-breath happen, you note it as out. And keep on noting, so that mind not only passively observing it, while noting it get much engaged with the object, less and less chances for the wandering thoughts to happen and to go out for the pains and the sounds. So therefore it is helpful to keep the object face to face little longer than the normal. Therefore it is considered as one of the technique to make the focusing precise. As and when it happens, when in the walking meditation, you do left and the right. When the left leg is moving, you just mentally note as left, and the right, you note it as rubbing. Specifically in the walking meditation, sometimes mind is not so sharp, and you, after accepting this and once implemented it, you will mechanically noting right, left, but the mind is wandering. While you are noting the right leg, left leg may be placing. While you are noting the left leg, right leg may be placing. So they are very grossly and obviously you can understand, what you note is not what is happening. What is happening is not that you are noting. Likewise, it gives a lot of chances for you to correct. So, therefore, noting is being employed whenever you have the complaint of thinking or wandering mind or distractions. Next is an English question. Please explain the difference between the Sati Sampajanya and the Yoniso Manasikara. Sati Sampajanya, translated as mindfulness and the clear comprehension, and the Yoniso Manasikara is translated as wise reflection and sometimes as the radical reflection. So this fairly give a kind of understanding difference according to the translated version. So one can say the sati is the basic proximate cause for the sampajanya to arise. Sampajanya means the clear comprehension to arise. Sometimes this sati sampajanya both translated as awareness. This discrete nature is not available, but for the moment if we accept mindfulness and the clear comprehension, that clear comprehension happen whenever the mindfulness give the background, or mindfulness is the proximate cause for the sampajanya to arise. And yoniso manasikara also, and therefore sampajanya is something happening on the ground of sati, mindfulness. Yoniso manasikara is a kind of adverting of your mind. Manasikara is being translated as adverting, the mental factor known as adversion. This adverting is something very involving, and yogi has to do it. Manasikara is being put with the adjective yoniso or ayoniso, means wise reflection or unwise reflection. So we have to accept manasikara is available each and every thought moment, whether you like it or not. It's a concomitant of the always available mental factor. So there is no gray area, either it is happening correct or wrong. If you have no trained mind or disciplined mind or cultivated mind, natural tendency is to go into the ayoniso manasikara, unwise reflection. So therefore, whatever the object happens, you react, you assume, you try to maximize it, or you try to do something, and that is why, that is how ayoniso manasikara is working. Whenever you are employing, knowing the understanding of the, or knowing the disadvantages of the ayoniso manasikara, unwise reflection, if you are to develop wise reflection, that is what known as the going against the grain. It is called swimming upstream. So therefore, unwise reflection is a naturally given thing. That is why we are always going in this vortex of perpetual falling into the samsaric journey. It is naturally happening. But whenever you are going to develop wise reflection, you have to understand the disadvantage of it and develop the mindfulness and have a certain amount of clear comprehension. Then only you can get the turn against the grain. So therefore, wise reflection is much mature stage, sometimes more than the sati sampajanya. When you are developing further, ultimately this wise reflection representing vipassana, or the meaning of vipassana is more close with yoniso manasikara, but sati sampajanya also have certain amount of relationship. So therefore, after developing the sati sampajanya, you have to keep on practicing to make your each and every manasikara, each and every adverting of the mind to become a yoniso manasikara, wise reflection. So then only one can understand the three characteristics: anicca, the impermanent nature, the suffering nature, and the soullessness. And there also it says even the scientists and the other deductive or rational thinkers came to know things are impermanent, things are subjecting to evolution and changes. And of course it is irritating, it is giving no any rest, it is torturing, it is burning. But the most significant thing of the Buddha contributed is this whole changing nature and this suffering nature is have no any personality, no ego, no self, and therefore disclaiming the suffering nature and the impermanence is the culmination of this Yoniso Manasikara.
Was that the reason why when he was walking from Rajaga to Nissarana and was staying with Ambarpali's house, when he heard that she was coming, he told all the monks to be in Yoniso.
Yeah, that is also to be Yoniso Manasikara means that if you have a wise reflection, first and foremost thing of this wise reflection is be prepared. I mean, be prepared. Even you find in the Boy Scout and the Girl Guides regulations also. So this is yet another way of presenting this diligence, not to negligent, be prepared. So once you be prepared only, you open the chances you to steer the manasikara, the adverting of your mind from the unwise to the wise. So whenever you become prepared, you are secured. I mean, you are one step ahead, better off, and still being prepared, you have to use the inquiring mind. You have to employ your other capacities, but the being preparedness is what the Buddha is giving. Whenever such a thing going to happen, if you are prepared, then you are better off, you are secured. When encountering the difference in the sitting meditation, should one possibly observe them till they pass away, or actively try to get rid of them? Both of them are valid. Very difficult to say you have to do only observing and not to restrain, or you have to restrain not to do any neutral observation. Both of them will be, both the techniques you have to use in a strategic way. For example, as far as the pain is concerned, when you are observing the in-breath and out-breath, if the pain is happening in a very subtle, very little, a very bearable kind, you can just forget about it. You can just keep on observing in the in-breath and out-breath. But when the pain is becoming slowly increasing and becoming throbbing, and there you can understand, yesterday or last sitting, I was giving up and getting up and go, but today I would try to deal it with little bit. And there you will just let the pain to come into the middle area, the gross part, and you find it is coming and threatening or throbbing and in par with in-breath and out-breath, and you can just try just facing. And if you are successful, you can see the cessation part of the pain. Because when it is coming to the peak, you try to tolerate it, and you successful, and then when it is ceases to exist, then you can just forget about the pain and be still with the in-breath and out-breath. Supposing the pain is increasing, excruciating and unbearable, then still two options available. You can still be with the pain, because pain has already overpowered the primary object, and you can be face to face with the breath. The pain, and that is depending on your confidence or your past experiences, and then you slowly understanding, or your tolerance or your threshold value is slowly increasing to deal with the little bit of severe kind of pains. And there are sometimes you let go and sometimes you get the grip. Again let go and take the grip. Likewise, whenever you are dealing with the pain, both the techniques are available. If it's a very severe kind of pain, you just surrender. It's a very minute kind of pain, you do just neglect it and you just go for the primary object. But when you are wrestling struggling with the pain, both you have to use. One master I remember that he's a disciple of Maha. He says, when the pain is in the increasing order, at a time you release, at a time you fight it. And when that happens, sometimes you feel your whole body, whole mind become fully tensed because you have developed so much of hatred, so much of ill will towards the pain, and you find you are really struggling with. Under such circumstances, you have to completely relax the body and the mind and everything, and then just give a chance for the primary object to be with again and see what is going to happen. Naturally what happens is that again the pain comes and you succumb to the situation, but sometimes such a change can make a big difference. Again, the primary object will be easier to keep up with. So therefore, I took only the example of the pain regarding this case. This is applicable, somewhat similar with the thought, with the sounds, but the pain has some kind of persistency in the meditation. So that is the point. Usually you test your forbearance, immunity, tolerance, and power of mindfulness. So that is why the Buddha kept the Vedana after the Kaya-anupassana. Once you develop the mindfulness with the Kaya-anupassana, that means with the mindfulness of the in-breath and out-breath, slowly, Vedana going to come and give day by day a challenge, a question paper, more difficult than yesterday. So those who are not prepared, consider it as a endless trouble and then give up. But those who are taking it in a productive way, creative way, they know this is the indicator to see how much you have developed patience, how much you have developed the indifference. So therefore, the pain is a very unavoidable test. And you must know how to put it in a constructive way. You may use both the techniques of, according to this one, actively try, and other one is just observing them till they pass away. Both you have to use strategically. Dear Bhante, could you please explain noble silence in a meditation retreat? In Sri Lanka, do you meditate? You maintain noble silence in meditation retreats? I think more safer to tackle the first part than the second part. Could you please explain the noble silence in the meditation retreat? The version the Buddha given is Dhammajiva kata aryova tunhi bhavu. If it happened to talk on a skillful talk, not a frivolous talk, not lying, not harsh words or tail carrying, these things have immediate effect, and therefore not even in the retreat anyway you have to avoid it. But even in the retreat you have to have a certain amount of communication, so therefore it must be up to the utility value. Even then still we can say we are in the noble silence. And during the time of the Buddha, there were some monks, they took the vow not to talk. And ultimately it went for disturbances and misunderstanding in the community. That is why the Buddha imposed this pavarana. That means at the end of the 3 months of rainy retreat, each and every monk has to talk and ask the help of the co-meditators or other members to get their reflection as to whether they have seen any mistake, if they have heard any mistake, if there was any suspicion about mistake, he has to invite them to talk and give the feedback. And the particular person, if he is going to confirm the same, then it is a matter for him to restrain. Therefore, there is a certain amount of talking necessary, but still it is happening within the noble silence, the label of noble silence. But when the Buddha himself is talking, he used to take for criterion before he uttering the words. If he is talking on something happened, actually happened. Second thing is, he is reporting only what is happened, not any exaggeration. The third aspect is, by listening, the listener, whether he is going to get any benefit or not. The fourth aspect is, even if it is something really happened, even if he is talking as it is, even if it is beneficial to the listener, whether he will accept it pleasantly or he will react to it. And if it is not going to accept in a pleasant way, the Buddha says he is marking the time till his talk become productive. And still he talk with the polite language or diplomatic language. These are the things the Buddha used when he is talking. That is why his words become so precious. It becomes so valuable. So what happens is, if you are not maintaining these qualities, your words will lose its power. And therefore, limiting the amount will increase the quality. When in Sri Lanka, when we are doing the retreats, often first, second, third day's time, it is increasing. People start to socialize each other, and ultimately you have to impose it. Telling again and again, it is not so nice, because everyone is an elderly person. Everyone came after spending so much time, value and everything. But indicating, talking is no good. So therefore sometimes we take it to the discussion and try to ask them, each and every person, when you are talking, a second person involved. That may be unwanted distraction for the other person. So therefore, it is not only disturbing your stream of consciousness, you are creating some other problems also for them. So therefore, respect others' solitude. And unless otherwise there is a special case, don't talk each other. And when we are in the Dhanadin retreat also, Bhante Somaratana told that it is went more than what is necessary. So therefore each and everyone must respect the meditative atmosphere and the solitude of the other people and the value of the time. So therefore, noble silence, you have to interpret according to the circumstances. In our Mitrikala, it has been written by Venerable Jnanarama in the shrine room, in the dining hall, in the meditation hall, you must talk minimum. But even then, if there is a necessity, you can just ask, where are the box of matches? What is this? This kind of thing. But don't entertain too much of talking. So personally I thought, I measure the skillfulness of the organizer of the retreat by amount of talks the yogis are going to do. So in future it will be a criterion. I am not going to go behind with the stick and tell you and don't talk. It is none of my business. But I am sure, Pandita Sayadaw, where I was, he is going even up to that level. He is going behind and he says, wherever I go and go a little further and see, never I find any kind of a encouraging situation. Always I get discouraged. Because whenever the chances happen, yogis tend to talk each other, but it is losing the spirit. Dear Bhante, could you please explain what to think when doing walking meditation? Do we watch the movement of the muscles? Thank you. So this question I would like to get any response from the audience. Would anyone like to share their views? The question is, could you please explain what to think when doing walking meditation? Do we watch the movement of the muscles? Anyone who wish to give some answers?
One has to watch the lifting of the foot, pushing it forwards and laying it down, then on the next foot, and keep on continuing this process. At the same time, marking and watching and noting any other thought that comes to your head. Muscles-wise, it's difficult to identify this muscle, separate it. Maybe later on one could, the anatomy. I suppose the joints, you can consider the joints and the foot and the leg and the thigh separately as time goes on.
Any comments on this comment? I mean, that is the way we have to have a dialogue. Otherwise, I will be talking from morning to evening. And good points are there. Some more clarity or some more adding to this set of instructions.
Mind wanders, to be aware that the mind is wandering while you're walking.
Yeah. So that is why he says if it is wandering and noting it as wandering, the question is, could you please explain what to think when doing walking meditation? That's the main body of the question. So I would withdraw this word thinking, because thinking is poisonous to meditation. This is not to think. This is to experience or to see. So therefore, the question itself has some corrections. Could you please explain what to do, maybe a better version, when doing, and what is the meaning of walking meditation? So, and do we watch the movement of the muscle is a kind of a answer given. So, in the walking meditation, you try to be here and now while the walking is happening. And as a guide, or as a guideline it says, at least try to experience the right leg and the left leg. And if still asking the question, what is the meaning of experiencing, we can say, when the whole movement of the right leg, at least the touch of the ground, but still it is a suggestion, the touch of the ground may be the most prominent thing. And when the right leg is moving, the movement of the whole right left step, the touching of the ground will be, it is a clue. So you try to experience the touch of the right leg and the touch of the left leg. It is not thinking. And when it is happening, as he tried to explain, sometimes you may feel not only the touch, all the contributions of the muscles. How the knee, how the thigh muscles, how the calf and everything is helping in this whole process of left leg and the left step and the right step. But it is not a starting point. It is kind of a additional information you're going to get. So therefore, in the walking meditation, what you do is try to experience the right leg movement or right leg experience and the left leg experience, and make sure mind is not wandering off, mind is not worry about thoughts, sounds, and try to keep as much as possible the step without falling into. And I think in the power of mindfulness, Venerable Jnanaponika has mentioned the definition of mindfulness is not to stumble and drop off from your steps. And so exactly the same thing we can say when you are doing walking meditation, you try to keep the attention with the walking business, and in detail we can say experience the right leg, left leg, or touch of the right leg, right sole and the left sole on the ground. And when you keep on doing, anything that you can experience is valid, as far as it is not an imagination. This is a alternative to sitting meditation. In the sitting meditation, you focus the attention on the in-breath and out-breath, or rising and falling the abdomen, whatever may be. But in the walking meditation, your touching point itself is changing. Eyes are open, bird sounds and the external things are there, wind movements are there, intentional action is happening, not like the passive involuntary action of breathing. So amidst of all the challenges, you just try to keep the track with the right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. So with certain amount of experience only, you will understand what is the really, what is the meaning of walking meditation. And I bought few books that has been already published. I gave it to Ramani. In this life itself, there are, at the end there is an appendix for the English readers. It indicates basic instruction about the walking meditation. And that is at the end. But in the book itself, in the chapter 5, dedicated for walking meditation, according to the word, the teaching of the Buddha, Gacchanto va gacchamiti pajanati, while walking, he knows he is walking. And that has been enlarged, as taken as a starting verse for the walking meditation. And therefore, you have to do it, discuss it, and then only slowly you will come to know what is the real meaning of walking meditation. And when it is happening, it is the easiest cut way to understand how to establish mindfulness in the day-to-day activities. In the day-to-day activities, more than the walking meditation, the time aspect also come into being. Multitask. And some other beings also related, you become socialized. Under such circumstances, where to keep my touch, where to keep my attention. So simply we can say, if you understand the walking meditation, you try to experience the touch of the soul, but in the day-to-day activities, you try to experience the soles and the palms. Whatever you touch, these are the tentacles. In our day-to-day life, we get the feelings. But of course, all the epidermis is a representative of the sensitivity of your body. But basically, if you can keep the attention with the palms and the soles, that is how you expand this walking meditation to the day-to-day activities. So therefore, walking meditation is in between, very crucial for the durability or persistency of the consistency of the yogi life.
Once it is shoes and slippers obstruct the...
Of course it is, yes, because if you are walking on the Mother Earth with the barefoot, then you get the real touch. But the thing is that the climatic situation sometimes, it is so cool or so wet, so under such circumstances you have to use footwear, but the best is without anything, just the touch of the ground. Could you plainly explain the difference between mindfulness and awareness? Are those different? Is there a difference? I think we first got the question about comparison between mindfulness and awareness versus the yoniso manasikara. This question is between the mindfulness and the awareness. This is usually explained like the horse and the cart. Horse is the mindfulness, and what is dragon behind is the cart. So whenever cart before the horse, no go. Always you have to keep the horse in front, and then there's a trip. And commentarial example is blind person, one person blind, the other person is laming, I mean no legs. But he has eyes. He can't move because no legs. The other person can't move because he can't see. So whenever the laming person climbing up on the blind person and give the direction, both of them can make a move. Likewise, the mindfulness is kind of blindness is there. It is observing, although like choiceless way. It is not making any decisions, just observing. The clear comprehension is, can make a decision, but it has no power. So therefore, mindfulness, the clear comprehension has to climb upon the mindfulness, and then both of them can go. And the third example is to cite is the needle and the thread. The needle is the mindfulness, it is very rigid, and it can go through to the cloth. Cloth has to bend according to the needle, and then when the needle taken off, the thread will come behind and you will put the knot, do the stitching, the necessary task. So therefore, mindfulness and the clear comprehension or the awareness is working in such a connected way. Mindfulness is the driving force and the awareness happens as the driven thing, and it is doing the task. It is fulfilling your will, your wish. Dear Bhante, do taints get automatically rooted out at Arahanta Maggapala? Usually, not it is happening in an automatic way. That is why Buddha has to, it happened him to give a discourse, and he says the 7 ways to cut off different layers of the taints, and the last one is by the meditation, and that is something attributable to the Arahanta Pala. But even at the Sotapatti level and different levels, it cut off according to the strategy. So therefore it is not happening automatically. So you have to have active participation, and that is why the Buddha says that cutting off of asava happen only for those who can see it and those who know it, not without that. It is not the seeing and knowing never happen automatically. Automatical way is unwise reflection. You have to have a wise reflection to see things as they are. In order to see things as they are, you have to see the object as and when it arises. Usually what we see is something delayed, something neglected. Once the negligence happens only, it becomes an object. So in order to cut off and go to the base, you have to be diligent and note it. And when you are noting, you are going to see the arising part of the object. And that is how you partly can claim that you have seen things as they are. In order to claim fully, you have to see the beginning, the middle and the end. But the strategic way is, you start with the middle, because of your negligence, the thing has already happened, it has become an object, or it is called nimitta. And then onward, if it is a recurrent one, again and again arising, when it is happening for the next time, you have to be alert, you have to be diligent, you have to be prepared as to see one thought moment before, when it is forming. When that skill happens, naturally it will see when it is ceasing off also. Never give up easily. You are bound to see the tapering off and cessation of the object also. That is how you come to know the beginning, the middle and the end. That we generally call see things as they are. Once you see things as they are, that is the pre-qualification and cursor to understand the functions of asava, the cankers, the taints, influxes. So long observation only you can see when these things happen, your traits, your liking and disliking, your personality views, all the things are naturally coming and coloring the situation. So most of these coloring, you have a special attraction because this is your contribution. So hardly you can see through them. So you have to go prepared. Once go prepared, and 1001 time only you can understand what is really happening as an object, what you project upon that object. Before this incoming and outgoing to come together, observation is hardly difficult, hardly possible for a people, those who have no mindfulness. For example, if you go to the particle physics, they fear the top class physics people, they know when the particle become mature, when the particle become collapsed, only you can either see or touch or feel or kind of thing. But as and when it is arising, that part they have not seen. So that is why they created this particle collider and try to see as and when the bang is happening, the shape of the particle. They call sometimes the Hebron particle, sometimes they call the God particle, the creation. That is so quickly changing, soon after that if you neglect about that, if you fail to see it, then only it become a particle and then only it to be either color or shape or whatever may be. So now they wanted to see as and when the particle collide each other to see the then and there what is happening. That is why these particle colliders and Hebron colliders are there, keep on going, and a lot of arguments are there. Whatever may be, science itself understand what we see is already neglected thing, already mature thing, and we are failed to see as and when it arising. As and when it arising, it is just energies. These energies collapse into particles whenever the consciousness come and interrupt it. Without the interruption of the consciousness, the energies will be energies. As far as they are energies, it has no shape, no manner. It is not subjected to the gravity. Whenever the energy become a particle, it take a shape, the manner, and subject to the gravity. And then onward only it become physics. It become a physical particle. As far as energies are concerned, there's no one can claim it. It is just a flux. It is a universal drama as far as the energy is concerned. Once the energy become particle only, we can measure it. All the things happen. Breath also the same. We can feel it. Once it is mature into a certain extent. So what the Buddha asks us to do is, understanding what you see is something already fixed, already collapsed, already taken shape, already taken a manner. So try to observe the same thing again and again so that you can see the beginning of it. It is going against the grain. So you have to have the full vigilance, full diligence and understanding that effort is fruitful. And when you go there, you can't claim it as in-breath and out-breath. It just appear like elementary particles. It's just stiffness, tension, movements and kind of things. Still if you go down there, you lose the labeling capacity, shapes and the manner. Ultimately you end up with just vibration or just movements or just a flux. When you go there, you find when the in-breath and out-breath merge each other, you can see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, and your personality, your view and your shape, everything is dissolved, no boundaries, only thing is energies, and that is the point you lose, you develop fearfulness, you feel uncertainty, you feel the no boundary situation, and very difficult to withstand, because asavas, your influxes are coming and make it uncertain. Make your ego boost again and you feel like get up and go. You feel like observing, open the eye and see whether your particles, parts are intact, the body and kind of thing. So much of problem happens. So therefore, it is not happening automatically at the Arahant level. It is gradual process, but very difficult to give a convincing kind of a trust at the beginning. So you have to start with the faith. When you are going on to the early part of your object, the arising part of the object, whatever it may be, it is kind of a radical reflection. It is kind of a wise reflection. It is happening only through the mindfulness. So therefore, mindfulness means more and more you have to be vigilant, observe the object as and when it arises. Don't let it be settled, be negligent. The vigilance is the way bringing, but mere vigilance is not enough. You have to have theory, understanding and kind of other necessities. But anyway, the early part is very painfully slow, consuming so much of energy, need so much of faith. But more and more you go with your trial and error, slowly you are bound to see the beginning part. It's a good start. You spoke about the taint today. Could you briefly mention the taint we cut by doing the concentration and moral training? Of course, it is a wrong presentation. What we can cut or what we can discipline, what we can restrain by moral training and the concentration training is not the taints. They are also defilements. These are gross defilements. After cutting only you can see the subtle defilements. These subtle part only known as the taints. Others are called transgressional kind and the obsessional kind. This is called underlying tendencies, specifically asava and anusaya. So therefore, this is a wrong understanding. So I have to correct. Moral training and the concentration training, of course, cut off something, but they are not this kind of particular defilements. They are grosser kind of direct. They are rational. You can do one-to-one relationship. When it comes to the taints, they are very pervasive, very perverted and disguised form. So very difficult to reach it by the rational mind. At one stage, do we contemplate on the four foundation of mindfulness when meditating? Do we take body at one time and feeling another time, etc.? Please clarify. Of course, we start with the body, but there are some traditions. They claim they can start with the feelings. They can specialize on the mental aspects, or sometimes the phenomena as such. So therefore, but when you study the four foundation of mindfulness, Satipatthana Sutta, it is starting with the body. For example, when you are keeping the attention with the in-breath and out-breath, after a while the pain arises. That is simply means, while you are developing the mindfulness with the in-breath and out-breath, that very mindfulness you have to employ to understand or see through these pains. So there is no such effective changing from bodily contemplation to the feelings. Automatically it happens. When you go there, thoughts arises. Whenever you are dealing with the thoughts, it is called Chittanupassana. seeing, hearing, spelling, touching. This is called Dhammanupassana. So it is a combination according to the individual exposure. So there is no, just like 4 gears in the car. This is the first gear and the second gear and the third gear and the fourth gear like. It is a combination. So specifically I mentioned when you are doing Anapanasati, it is not a responsibility of the yogi. More and more you master the Anapanasati, the balance will happen according to the law of the nature. So that is what the thing the Buddha tried to give the message. In the Anapanasati, if you are doing Anapanasati, or develop the mindfulness in the in-breath and out-breath, the balance will happen automatically. As I tried to explain, when you deal with the pain and the thoughts and all the kind of things.
Is that why Bhante, you said it's a technical exercise only in your book?
Yeah. You keep on practicing. While practicing, the sharpness, effectivity increases by itself. It is like when you are running the car, the running car is charging the battery as it runs. But at the beginning you have to have a charged battery to get the self-starter and the others to work. But when the car is running, it charges the battery through the dynamo. So likewise, as far as you take care about the mindfulness on the in-breath and out-breath, the ongoing process or in-service training going to happen. What is the difference between the kilesa and asava? This is something related to this question. This last question was, you spoke about the taints today. Could you briefly mention the taints we cut by the doing concentration and moral training? This is something related to what is the difference between the kilesas and asava. The overall thing we call kilesa or defilements. Defilements are 3 layers. The most gross part is we call transgressional kind. That is related with moral training. The medium part we call the obsessional type. That is related with the concentration training. The most subtlest part we call asava and anusaya, or commonly we call underlying tendencies, anusaya. And that we do by wisdom training. So therefore kilesa is the generic term for all the 3 kinds of kilesas. Obsession, the pariuttana kilesa and vitikkama kilesa. Vitikkama means the transgression. Transgressional kilesa, transgressional defilements is the English term, but the Pali equivalent is the vitikkama. Vitikkama means ullanghana. You transgress the limit, social limit. And the obsessional one is, we call pariuttana. Pariuttana means it's just awaken from the sleep. Just a reason. So, obsessional is like that. You can understand, but the second person can't read it. When you are transgressing, even the second person can read it. You transgress the social and ethical laws. So the killing, stealing and other kind of things, second person involved and he come to know. But whenever the obsessional defilements come into your mind, the other person hardly can understand. But definitely you understand it, if you are mindful. But when the asava-anusaya happens, even you can't understand it. You never recognize them as defilement, you will recognize them as friendly, healthy, benevolent things. That is why the Buddha has to redefine them as also defilements and see and helping us to see its perverted nature, its cheating nature, its disguised manner. So that is the part, that is the most specific, intrinsic contribution of the Buddha to the human understanding, because early 2 was fairly tackled by the time of the enlightenment. But this asava-anusaya part is a very tricky and it's a genuine contribution of the Buddha. Could you please go through the steps of the vipassana meditation using the rising and falling of the abdomen? if I can do it for you, I would do it, but hardly difficult. That is why Buddha says you have to do yourself. Can you please go through the steps of the Vipassana meditation using the rising and falling of the abdomen? Difficult. You have to have your own share. It is you, instead of rising and falling, you use in-breath and out-breath. These are just 2 words. Sometimes you can simplify like this. So therefore don't make it too big. While you are sitting, what is naturally coming? You feel the rising and falling of the abdomen or breathing sensation. That is the initially you have to be sharp, you have to be careful, and then onward go according to the prominency of the object. If you are going with the rubbing sensation, it is called Anapanasati Bhavana. If you are going by the movement of the abdomen or the diaphragm, that is called rising and falling the abdomen. How does one deal with Anusaya Kilesa? And I am asking, just wait few days, and we will in the Dhamma talks, we will try to go little by little, how to deal with. And yesterday in the Sinhala, we try to prepare the ground so that to go deep into. And today in English talk also, the ground preparation was done. And in future talks, I will try to see how the encounters and what are the ways and how can we know whether we are really cutting through the jungle. So this will be dealt according to the Dhamma talk as the time passes. Venerable Bhante, please advise if my understanding of how meditation lead to the ending of suffering is connects. Craving is the current or the force that make, within bracket, or propels the consciousness to the room in the samsara. Meditation helps purify the mind by eliminating various desires. No desire, no craving, no birth and no death. Please advise. Thank you. So this is a kind of yet another way to look into the problem, but there is not only one particular way, number of ways available. Even if you can reduce to the particular theoretical model or formula, it won't help you in reality in understanding things as they are. But anyway, to go into this kind of resolute faith, you have to have this kind of theoretical understanding, but not a single theoretical understanding directly help in practical way. So for the moment, we can take it to grant, and by practicing only we can confirm whether you have really understood the problem in its gravity. So this is the way we justify, and this is the way we try to fulfill the picture. It is not a complete round, it is a lot of loopholes, but we try to make it complete in order to satisfy our mental images. So that is why this recurrent force, we recognize as it is me, it is mine, and it is my soul. That is how we came. So therefore, anyone who wish to maintain this have their own right. Change my language, the channel changed. So I will just tackle it in the Sinhala. My primary object of meditation is 4 elements, particularly the air element. Will the meditation progress similar to how it is described in the Anapanasati Sutta, even though one does not note on the breath itself. It says your object must be a conventional one. It must not be a absolute, like 4 elements. So therefore, if you are going to start with 4 elements, that may be an imagination or your projections. So therefore, in order to meditation be based on, well-grounded on the reality, it says always it must be a convention. So therefore, if to give an answer to this question, with the meditation progress similar to how it described in the Anapanasati Sutta, even though one does not note the breath itself. Maybe as the progress going on, but starting with the 4 elements indicates there's a kind of a basic misunderstanding at the outset. So therefore, clarify that at the beginning, just feel rather than assume, rather than mentally project it, just feel it. And if you start with what do you feel, how do you feel the breath, that will be a good start. Otherwise, the elementary these things may be a imagination, may be a mind-made thing. If it is so, it is not leading. Right from the beginning, it may be misleading. So therefore, best thing is to start with the conventional touch, conventional experience. Can you please answer the Sinhalese question in English? So it is easy to ask, but very difficult to give the so much of long talks. Even now we have already gone 1.5 hours. So therefore, I like raising question, and this is good, but translating everything. So if we can compromise, just ask question in English, then no problem. Then I find easy, and it will be democratic for all the people also. So my request is, please raise the question in English, then it will not be much of a problem. Sadhu, Venerable Sir, there seems to be very little interpretation and explanation given in the text on cessation of suffering, Chago, Padnisaggo, Mutti, Analayo, generosity, giving, generally given the only meaning. Can you please explain and give some examples as to how Buddha intended these 4 methods to be applied? This is, I mentioned in the talk, when we are dealing with the 4 noble truths, even at the 3rd noble truth, that is the cessation or the emancipation, it has been given some synonyms. Chago, Patinissaggo, Mutti, Analayo is almost used in the generosity, in the charity, in dana. And here the Chago, giving up is not material, but your desire for your love, desire for your likings and disliking, desire for your personality. Letting go also the same. And being free also the same. And detaching oneself also from not the material, not your possessions, but your likings and disliking, your personalities. So that also has to give up. It's a very subtle form. So anyway, from the emancipation point of view, that is also kind of giving up. So therefore, the 4 different terms may have little shades of meanings, but generally you generalize as, it says it's a, generalizing is as a weakness. This has been recognized in the question, but anyway, what you have to do is that when you keep on practicing, you will understand your likings or dislikings are always taints. These influxes are there to camouflage whatever the experience happens. So if you can really understand likings and disliking and cut off, that is what we call the choiceless awareness. That is what we call the evenly suspended attention. So at that time, this giving up has to happen. Could you please explain the gaps between the breaths and its relation to the subconscious? I did not understand it fully. I try to explain not the subconscious, I try to see it is unconscious. We are not, our consciousness is always related with the existence or what is available. When that is not available, our consciousness can't read it. Not only this thing, even when it becomes subtle, the consciousness just bypass it, overlook it. And function of the tanha, function of the desire is to hook, is to stitch all the positivity, the permanent notion, the auspicious notion, pleasurable notion, self notion. So they hooked up each other so that all the subtle part and nothingness drop off. So that is a very good example is when you look at the sky now, you only see stars or the moon. But you never see the gap in between two stars. It is not palatable. Unless otherwise, and yet another way is, if you are to see the in-between two stars, the darkness, you never know there's a full of light in the sky. But it appears like a darkness because there is no matter there to reflect the light. As far as there is no matter inside, it is not reflecting, so it appears like the darkness. So our consciousness is always overlooking, bypassing this nothingness. Only it can see existing thing, present thing, so they make the complete picture. But even the physics people, they know, whole of the universe, matter represents only 4% or less than 4%. The balance is dark matter. They don't know what does it mean by the dark matter because you can't measure it by the equipments. That is also representing yet another 26%. 70% is dark energy. We don't know. But we know now we don't know. That is physics. But the Buddha, he says, I see everything. He sees matter, he sees dark matter, he sees dark energies. That is why he says, when compared to the totality, the matter is nothing. That is sunya. But we see only matter, we see the whole world as something, so therefore we are challenged to say that it is void. He says relatively it is void because you are fighting and you are arguing only on what is palatable, what is tangible, what is measurable, what is shapes and the manners are available. But that does not indicate the whole picture. So therefore, even when you say I can understand the breathing, you only see the gross part of the breath. In between these two, in-breath to out-breath, there is a gap. Out-breath to in-breath, there is a gap. That we can't perceive it. Unless otherwise, mindfulness becomes very sharp. Unless otherwise, you really be prepared to look into it, then only you will understand. Without understanding that part, the whole picture is not complete. So that's all the written questions. We have already taken 1 hour and 45 minutes. If there are any other comments or any other questions or any other topics, we can consider. Otherwise, we can think about the winding up of the day's work. We are going to recite the traditional stanzas and mark the end of the day's program. Ittavata cammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata cammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu. Ittavata cammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanam. Punyantang anumoditva Desanam Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika anumoditva chirang rakkantu mang parang. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukhita hontu nyatiyo. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Mina punya kammene mami bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sukhi hontu. Sadhu, sadhu, anumodami. Sadhu, anumoditappang. Kamami kamitabbang. Sukhi hontu. Sukhi hontu. Sukhi hontu sopattitva sopat. Abhivadana silisse niccang vaddha pacayino cattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca ato nibbana sampatti minati samijjatu.